So why do buildings matter? I guess buildings are not seen as a particularly dirty industry, but they actually make up around 30% of global energy use and greenhouse gas emissions. So if we want to reduce the carbon footprint of the globe, then we need to reduce the energy footprint of buildings. So we need regulations to help drive that change. And we're already starting to see that globally, country by country. So for example, in New York, we have Local Law 97, which forces building owners to reduce the energy footprint of their buildings or face big fines. In the UK, you would have seen the UK government banning the use of gas boilers in new homes from 2025 and potentially pulling that forward to 2023. And in Italy, you see quite generous subsidies for homeowners to install heat pumps, energy efficient heat pumps, to reduce the carbon footprint of their homes. And this year we've seen the EU flesh out their Fit for 55 policy proposal a little bit more, where they're aiming to reduce the emissions in the EU by 55% by 2030 from 1990 levels. And within that, reduce the energy emissions from buildings by 60%. So what might we expect from COP26? We want to see specific policies aimed at reducing the energy footprint of buildings. We want to see governments go further in their pledges to reduce the energy footprint of buildings and specific policies which are going to help drive that. Smart buildings is becoming a more important topic. To improve the energy efficiency of a building, there's broadly two ways to do it. Use more efficient technology or use the existing technology more efficiently. And within electrification as a whole, the EU targets the building stock's energy mix to rise from 30% electricity to 40% electricity by 2030. That means providers of electrical infrastructure like low voltage and medium voltage equipment should benefit. The challenges for policymakers will be turning proposals like Fit for 55 into effective regulations and subsidies so that it influences individual and company behaviour so that we can reduce the energy footprint of buildings quickly.
We've heard how significant buildings are in their role in energy use and carbon emissions, but also the construction of those buildings in the first instance is something that's really important. The vast majority of that comes from two materials, cement and steel. So in terms of the levers that the cement industry has at their disposal, they can either reduce the clinker factor of the cement, they can increase the amount of alternative fuels they use in their fuel mix, or they can explore options such as carbon capture. There's only so far you can reduce emissions by doing alternative fuel use and a low clinker factor, so carbon capture might be the only solution that the industry has at its disposal. One of the main barriers to carbon capture at the moment is the cost. So in the schemes where we've seen this on the ground already, they're having to rely on very large subsidies from governments. So we're kind of reliant on the price of carbon capture falling, or alternatively the price of CO2 increasing even further before this becomes viable on a larger scale. As investors, we really need to consider the cost of the investment of carbon capture and other technologies, as well as the sort of incremental return you could expect on those. This is a really capex intensive business. There's a lot of upfront costs which is going to have to go into the industry, and as investors we really need to consider the sort of return that they might be able to achieve on this path of energy transition and decarbonisation of their operations.